Welcome students to the session on operations research. In this session, we will be discussing about introduction to the critical path method, that is CPM, and program evaluation and review techniques, that's PERT, or program evaluation and review technique. Basically, these are techniques used in network analysis. We deal with so many projects in organizations, say construction of say a bridge, a highway, or a power plant, or the manufacturing of say some product, launching of a product into the market, correct? Then it could be the installation of a machine. So there could be different construction of a house, for example. So if we consider a project as a combination of interrelated activities or tasks which must be completed in a certain order with a certain precedence logic within a specified time limit, within a minimum cost, without compromising on quality, using the resources available, we can term this set of interrelated activities with a common objective of minimizing the time and cost as a project. So a project consists of interrelated activities, many activities, but each of these activities are interrelated, that is, they have some logic based on which they are executed, that is, some activities will follow others, some activities can only start when some of the previous activities are completed. So there is a logic in which these activities have to be carried out, or a specific relationship in which they have to be carried out at their respective estimated times. And the overall objective of the organization or the in charge would be to minimize the total time of completion and also minimize the total project cost, utilizing the resources available without compromising on the quality. So let us look at now the critical path method and program evaluation and review technique. In this session, we will be discussing about some terms which are used in CPM and the PERT analysis. We will also discuss about the difference between critical path method and program evaluation and review technique, the terminology used, and also we will understand the rules, basic rules required to represent these projects as a network. So how to draw a network, what are the guidelines needed to represent these projects as network diagrams. So let us proceed. What is a project? A project is defined as a combination of interrelated activities, all of which must be executed in a certain order for its completion. So we define a project as a combination of interrelated activities. There will be many activities in a particular project, but each will have a particular relationship with the other activity. We call that as a precedence or a successor relationship. A preceding activity is an activity which should be completed before the next activity can start. Similarly, a successor activity is an activity which can start only when its preceding activity is completed. So we can see here every project is a combination of interrelated activities. All are equally important. They are all part of the project, all are equally important in terms of execution. All should be executed. When we say they are equally important, it is from the point of view of execution. All activities should be started and completed at their times scheduled. Only then we can say that the project is complete. So a project is a combination of interrelated activities. If a project has to be completed, all the activities which are a part of it have to be completed. Now, the objective of the project would be again to minimize the cost and the time, to minimize the time of completion. So, a project is defined as a combination of interrelated activities, all of which must be executed in a certain order for its completion. The work involved in a project can be divided into three phases corresponding to the management functions of planning, scheduling and controlling. So here it's a planning, scheduling as well as a controlling function. So whatever analysis we are going to see now, planning, scheduling and controlling. So all three will be discussed in this particular session. Planning involves setting the objectives of the project as well as the assumptions to be made. So we have to set the objective of the project. It has to be very clear what is the objective of the project. It also involves the listing of the tasks or jobs that must be performed in order to complete the project. So the listing of the jobs or the tasks which must be performed in order to complete the project should be very clearly chalked out. Next, scheduling consists of laying the activities according to their order of precedence. Now, each activity, the logical sequence, how the activity should be carried out, which activity will come before after a particular activity, what are the logical relationship between each activity, that comes in scheduling. Scheduling consists of laying the activities according to their order of precedence and determining the start and finish times of each activity, the critical path and the slack or the float for the non-critical paths. We will understand about critical path and non-critical path in the subsequent sessions, but this is the initial introductory part. We will discuss about the different functions, what are the different terminologies used in project management, say especially in the CPM and PERT analysis, and also we will see the difference and how the two techniques differ in terms of application. Controlling refers to the phase exercised after planning and scheduling and involves making periodical progress reports, reviewing the progress, analyzing the status of the project, and making management decisions regarding updating, crashing, and resource allocations. Now, this controlling phase is a check or a measure to find out whether you are going in the right direction or not. So, it's very, very essential in management. Controlling, that is checks. You are now comparing the actuals with what you have planned. So if what is actually happening, your progress, if it is not matching with what you had actually thought of, what you had initially set to achieve, if it is not matching, that means there should be some remedial actions to be taken. So this controlling here refers to making periodical progress reports, reviewing the progress, analyzing the status of the project, and taking decisions regarding updating, crashing, and resource allocations. So these terms you'll understand once we get into the numericals. When you solve numericals, you will understand what each of these terms mean and how each of these functions of management is applicable in the solution of the problem, in the procedure of solution of the problem. So now let us come to the basic terms in CPM and PERT. First thing is the network. A network is the graphical representation of logically and sequentially connected arrows and nodes. So whenever we represent a particular activity and then represent all these activities together as a project, the graphical representation is called as a network. The graphical representation is called the network. What is an activity? An activity represents some action and is a time-consuming effort necessary to complete a particular part of the overall project. An activity represents some action, that is, an activity consumes time. some activity. For example, let us say there is a simple project of, say, setting up of some steelworks, okay, steelworks. Now, setting up of the site workshop, there could be some activity related to fencing of the site, digging of the foundation, fabrication of the steel work. Each one of these would be one specific activity there. Each one is an activity. Okay, installing pillars, that could be another activity. Foundation, concrete foundation, painting could be another activity. So each one of these activities is independent, but are dependent on, independent in the sense they are all individual activities, not independent. Independent would not be the right word. They are all individual activities, but are dependent on each other. Dependent on each other. They are dependent on each other. So each activity consumes time, and each of these activities will now consume some time. Okay. For example, again, if I can give you some examples, if you are talking about, say, maintenance job on a heat exchanger in a refinery, for example, the first activity could be dismantling of the pipe connections. Second activity could be dismantling of the heater. The third activity could be removing the tubes or the tube bundles. The fourth activity could be cleaning of the bolts, and so on. You can have different activities there. One by one you may have different activities, each one with a specific logical relationship with the other. Okay, so each activity here represents some action or some task and is time consuming always. For example, activity 1 may take 10 days of time or 10 hours of time. Activity 2 may take only 2 hours. But for activity 2 to start, activity 1 should be complete. Activity 2 can start only if activity 1 is complete. Activity 1, or in other words, we can say activity A and B. Activity A takes 10 minutes of time. Let us take minutes as a unit of time. Activity A takes 10 minutes of time, and activity B takes 2 minutes of time to complete, and both are required for the completion of the project. But activity 2 can only start after activity A is completed. Now, if that is the logical relation specified by the company in the planning phase, then you have to follow that particular logic. It will, whatever is being specified, what objective is defined, and whenever a proper schedule is given to you, you have to adhere to that particular schedule. So activity represents some action and is time consuming, whereas event is the beginning and end points of an activity and does not consume time. It is represented in nodes. So the beginning and end points of an activity and does not consume time. So activity consumes time, whereas event does not consume time. It is represented in nodes. Now let us say I will just write here, I will just indicate with a circle here 1 and say this is 2, this is 2. This is activity. Suppose I say this is activity A. This is activity A. And this activity takes, say, 5 units of time. This activity A takes 5 units of time. Activity A takes 5 units of time. Now here, this arrow here represents the activity. Activity A is represented by the arrow. It is represented by the arrow. This is the activity. This is the activity, the arrow. This circles, this 1 and 2, these are called the nodes. These are the nodes. These are called the nodes. These are called the nodes. This 1 and 2. This 1 and 2. These two are called as the nodes. And the numbers written in these nodes, this 1 and 2, the numbers which are written in 1 and 2. For example, 1 is an event. 1 is an event. Similarly, 2 is also an event. So these events 1 and 2 are indicated in the nodes. The nodes are represented by circles. Yes, nodes are indicated in the circles. Activity is represented by a node. Sorry, activity is represented by an arrow. Correction. Activity is represented by a arrow. Please keep in mind 1 and 2, the numbers 1 and 2 which are represented in the nodes are the events. 1 is the start event of activity A, 2 is the end event of activity A, and the arrow represents activity A, and the number written on top of the arrow, that 5, is an example, just an example I am giving, the time required to complete activity 1 to 2. So an activity consumes time. You can see here the activity has a time limit, 5 minutes, already given here in the problem. It will be given to you in the problem. Just an example I am giving you. But the events 1 and 2 do not consume time. They are instantaneous, 1 and 2. 1 is event start activity A. 2 is the event stop activity or finish end activity A. So 1 is start activity A, 2 is end activity A. And similarly, you can see the network here, you can continue with activities one after the other. So if there is one more activity, say B, after 1 to 2, you can represent it after 2. You can represent it as 2. So you can again draw here, if there is one more activity here, one more, so you can again put another arrow here and indicate 3 here. So this will be activity B. So B can start only when A is complete. B can start only when A is complete. Activity B can start only when A is complete, because the network says, the logic here says that once A finishes or ends, then only B can start. B cannot start before A is completed. Only when A is completed, B can start. So this is the difference between activity and event. Activity consumes time, event does not consume time, and event is the start or the beginning and end point of an activity, and it is represented in nodes. What is a dummy activity? Any activity which neither consumes time nor resources but are used to represent a connection or a link between the events are known as dummies. So any activity which neither consumes time nor resources but are used to represent a connection or a link between the events are known as dummies. So they don't represent, they are not actual activities at all, but may be required sometimes to maintain the logic between the, or to maintain the, to indicate the relationship, precedence relationships between activities. So in that case, we will be introducing dummy activities. They will not consume any time. Dummy activities do not consume any time, or you can say the time consumed is 0, and you can represent them as a dotted line, dotted arrow, not a solid arrow, dotted arrow. Normal activities you have already seen with a solid arrow you will draw, whereas dummy activities are represented by dotted lines, dotted arrow. When we solve a numerical, we will solve a problem where a dummy activity is involved whenever that particular section comes. So let us now proceed with the other terms. What is a predecessor activity? Predecessor or a preceding activity. Predecessor or a preceding activity is an activity which must be completed before one or more activities can start. So in the previous example, activity A was a preceding activity to B. Activity A was a preceding activity to activity B, whereas activity B was a successor activity to activity A. In the previous slide you have seen A and B, the activities which are drawn. So A is a preceding activity to B, B is a succeeding activity, B is a succeeding or a successor activity to A. So any activity which must be completed before one or more activities can start. Successor activity, any activity which starts immediately after one or more activities are completed. But one thing has to be remembered, if a particular activity has two preceding activities, if particular activity has two preceding activities, both the preceding activities have to be completed for that activity to start. The succeeding activity can only start if all the preceding activities, whichever activities are immediately preceding it, are completed. Only then that activity can start. What is critical path? This is very important. Now we are all discussing now the main objective in this session or in this network analysis will be estimation of critical path. What is critical path? Critical path is a sequence of critical activities with the longest path requiring the shortest time for the completion of the project. So whenever we choose the longest path from the start to the finish of a project, every project has different activities all drawn in the form of a network diagram. So you can trace different paths from the start to the finish of the project, but all paths will not ensure you that all activities are completed. So the longest amongst all these paths from start to finish will ensure you that all activities are completed, and you can say the project is complete only when all activities are completed. So one very important point you have to keep in mind is a project is completed only when all the activities in the project are completed. So the longest amongst all the activities, or rather the longest path or the longest path of all the paths from start of the project to the finish of the project will be your critical activity. But keep in mind, this longest path from start to the finish will be the shortest time for completion of the project, because only the longest path of all the paths from start to finish will be the shortest time for the completion of the project, because only that path, if that path is selected, because that is a critical path, all other activities will be completed, and that will be the minimum time required to complete the project. So the maximum amongst the path is the minimum time required to complete the project, and that is the critical path. Or in other words, all the activities in the critical path cannot be delayed at all. It should be the commencement of those critical activities are very, very important, because if they are delayed, then the entire project completion time is also affected. So a critical activity is defined as an activity, or an activity is said to be critical if a delay in its commencement will result in delay in the completion of the project. So an activity is said to be critical if a delay in its commencement will result in delay in the completion of the project. Let us see the rules of network construction now. First rule is try to avoid arrows crossing each other. So arrows should be straight. So use straight arrows, no crossing. No event can occur until every activity preceding it has been completed. So no event can occur until every preceding activity or activity preceding it has been completed. An event cannot occur twice. For example, start activity A is an event. So start activity A cannot occur twice. Similarly, finish activity A is an event. Finish activity A cannot happen twice. After finish activity A, next event will be start event, next event, succeeding event. Similarly, an activity succeeding an event cannot be started until that event has occurred. So until start activity B, event start activity B happens or occurs, we cannot start activity B. For activity B to start, the event has to occur. So event has to occur first, and we have already discussed event does not consume time, it is instantaneous. You will understand this when we solve problems. You will understand each one of this. Now use arrows from left to right. Avoid mixing two directions. Vertical arrows may be used if necessary. Sometimes you may feel a shortage of space, So you can use vertical directions, but limit its use. Try to avoid that vertical. Always use arrows from left to right. Maintain the space or make use of the space. Plan your network, taking into consideration the space available for you to draw. Draw it neatly. Draw the network diagram neatly. Dummies should be introduced only if it is necessary. All problems may not require dummies. So dummies should be introduced only if it is necessary. And finally, the network has only one start event and one end event. So the entire project or the network will have one start project and end project. Initial event and the last event. So the network has only one start event and one end event. Let us now see how the numbering of the events is done. So the rule says the event number should be unique. So two events cannot have the same number. Event numbering should be carried out on a sequential basis from left to right. The initial event, which has all the outgoing arrows with no incoming arrow, is numbered as 1. That is the initial event. An event at the beginning of the project. So the initial event, which has all the outgoing arrows with no incoming arrow, is numbered as 1. Delete all the arrows emerging from all the numbered events. This will create at least one new start event out of the preceding events. Now, whenever you draw or number the events, number it in a sequential form, 1, 2, 3 and so on, from left to right. And similarly, or 10, 20, 30 in multiples of 10, that is also fine. You will give the activities alphabets always. It's always better if you give label or list activities as alphabets. But always when you number the events, let it be numbers 1, 2, 3 sequentially from left to right, or 10, 20, 30, 100, 200, 300, like that. So you can see when we start solving problems, when you see the network diagrams, you will understand. Number all new start events 2, 3 and so on. Repeat this process using the terminal event without any successor activity is reached till the end. So the starting initial activity will not have any preceding activity. Similarly, the last activity will not have any succeeding activity. So number the terminal nodes suitably, that is the end nodes, terminal, end, left and right, suitably. Let us now see the difference between CPM and PERT. As already discussed, CPM stands for critical path method, whereas PERT or PERT stands for program evaluation and review technique. In CPM, we are using a single time estimate, whereas in program evaluation and review technique, we are using 3 time estimates, which are the optimistic, most likely and pessimistic time. So in CPM, single time estimate. So we are using a much more when you relative to PERT, the time estimation is more precise here. Compared to, we are talking just in comparison, relative to program evaluation and review technique. In CPM, since it is deterministic in nature, the time estimate that you are using in CPM is more precise, is precisely known relative to PERT. In CPM, the time estimate is known precisely relative to PERT. We are again talking in relation to it. It is not that in PERT you are having 3 time estimates. That's why you are having 3 time estimates in PERT, because the decision making environment is not under certainty here in PERT or PERT. What are the time estimates? Optimistic. So when everything goes fine, what will be the time estimate? For example, I say traveling from one place, if say delivery of a particular product, say from source A to destination B, if everything goes fine, that is there is no the rider is in a very good condition to drive, the vehicle is giving a very good mileage, the traffic, there is no traffic blockages, the road is now not crowded. So we can say the most optimistic measure could be say 20 minutes to reach the destination. Optimistic, the best possible time duration to deliver the product. If I take the pessimistic time estimator approach, oh yes, probably now the vehicle probably might not be give a good mileage, probably has it requires some maintenance, so you are now taking that into consideration. Your delivery boy may take say uh, some extra 10 minutes there, and also you are expecting some traffic congestion during this peak hour. There could be some road blockages, there is a diversion, you have to take a different route, so in that case maybe 1 hour. So for the same job, optimistically you have said 20 minutes, pessimistically you are saying 1 hour. And what is this most likely time? Most likely time is corresponding, say in a statistical measures, when you talk about mean, median, etc. There is something called as mode, something that is occurring the most number of times. It's similar to that. The most likely time. Over a period of time, you have a measure of say a particular time estimate for a delivery to that particular destination. Optimistic, when everything goes fine. Pessimistic, say under worst conditions. Most likely the normal, on a normal range, what could be the time. So you are now using 3 time estimates in PERT, whereas in CPM you are using single time estimate for the activity duration. So that is a difference, major difference between CPM and PERT are the time estimates. Similarly, again an extension of that, deterministic in nature, whereas PERT is probabilistic in nature. That is why 3 time estimates are used. You are not certain. CPM is activity oriented, PERT is event oriented. CPM applicable for predictable activities, PERT for unpredictable activities. CPM for repetitive jobs, PERT for non-repetitive jobs. That is why you are not sure about the time. One of a kind job, for example, non-repetitive, something that has come new, you are doing it for the first time. So no record of how things have gone earlier. So you are using 3 time estimates here. Construction of projects, example, commonly CPM, critical path method, say used in construction of buildings, roads, bridges, etc. for construction projects. Whereas PERT mainly for say uh, launching a new product into the market by a company, satellite launching, sometimes research and development projects, etc. Correct? Now something that you are now introducing for the first time, unexplored territories, you are now getting into something that is a non-repetitive thing. Okay, so this is the difference between CPM and PERT. So these are the differences between CPM and PERT. So in the next session, what we will do is we'll take all these terminologies which you have understood, the rules of networking, the difference between CPM and PERT, and we'll apply all this and take up an example, and we'll start solving problems in CPM and PERT so that we understand the application of these techniques better. So in the next session, we'll be taking up certain problems, numericals, cases, and we'll apply the critical path method and PERT techniques and learn how or study or understand how these two techniques work. Thank you.